The league's official response to your concerns about officiating. Straight ahead on NFL Total Access with Scott Hansen. I'm Lindsay Rhodes.
We're also going to get a visit from one of the fastest players in the NFL, but we start with a trade between two playoff contending teams. A Pro Bowl cornerback is going to a division leader. Let's turn to NFL media insider Ian Rappaport right now. Ian, tell us the big news.
Marcus Peters, the Rams cornerback, is now a former Rams cornerback. He was traded earlier this afternoon to the Baltimore Ravens, a huge trade for the Ravens to bolster their defense. They have been in the market for a corner for some time. They dipped their toe in the Jalen Ramsey's waters. Obviously, that was not going to happen. Instead, they get Marcus Peters, still in his mid-20s, still in Pro Bowl form, someone who now potentially becomes a big part of their future. In exchange, they send Kenny Young, former UCLA linebacker. He goes back home to the Rams along with a fifth-round pick. And, for the Rams, who obviously have struggled in the secondary as well, here's what this means. They put Aqib Talib on injured reserve earlier in the week, and now they send Marcus Peters packing. Clear they're going in a different direction for this Rams team. Obviously, a move that will alter the landscape of two big-time, really good teams.
Well, Ian Rappaport, I can't say I was expecting this move. Aqib Talib on IR, and now they ship Marcus Peters out of town. Michael Robinson, DeAngelo Hall. What do you think the Rams might be thinking or intending to do moving forward?
I think just big picture they're thinking, hey, look, we're not going to re-sign Marcus Peters, and so let's get something for him. Doesn't make a lot of sense because this Rams team is still right there in the thick of things, and to get rid of a guy like Marcus Peters, who's an impact player on that defense, a defense that hadn't necessarily been playing that great, and a secondary that's banged up. You talk about Aqib Talib, who's on IR, and now you got Troy Hill, who's out there, Nikhil Roby-Coleman, who is playing good, David Long, who's a rookie, third-round pick out of Michigan. So I'm interested to see what they do with that secondary. I know they have a really good secondary coach in Aubrey Pleasant. He coached me in Washington. So I know he can get anybody out there and ready to play football. I just question that kind of impact player that Marcus Peters is, and giving him to a team like the Ravens, who already have a loaded secondary. You add him into the mix, it's going to be interesting.
I think they're doing him a little bit of a favor, man. I mean, I really do. The last time we saw Aqib Talib out of the lineup last year, what did Marcus Peters look like?
Well, they had him doing some things that wasn't necessarily his cup of tea.
Exactly. He had to follow the dominant guy all over the place. He had to go in the slot a little bit. He had to do some things that just wasn't him. And I think with Aqib going to the IR, I think now they're looking like, okay, let's get, and to your point, let's get something for Marcus Peters. I mean, 24 interceptions since 2015. The dude knows how to get the football. And now you can send him to the Baltimore Ravens, right? They already have Marlon Humphreys, who's their shutdown corner, who's their lockdown corner. And now you can have him travel with the number one guy with help. You can help this guy out. And I think he's going to be an awesome addition to the Baltimore Ravens secondary. They've been getting up a lot of explosive plays.
And another thing about the Ravens secondary, Tony Jefferson's on IR now. Now you can, we saw watching film them moving Brandon Carr around in different spots. Jimmy Smith, when he gets healthy, he'll be back out there in the mix. So you talk about a Ravens secondary when, we always say everybody's getting ready to try to play the Kansas City Chiefs as far as that speed and getting as many DBs out there on the field as possible. The Ravens, who struggled a little bit in that secondary, now they have a lot of DBs that they can throw at teams and put them in different positions. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
And the thing about Marcus Peters, he brings a little attitude, too. And that's what I'm seeing missing from this Baltimore Ravens secondary. We're so used to seeing the swag, seeing the weight at the back end, the no-fly zone, all that stuff in the back end. We're used to seeing that with the Baltimore Ravens. And for whatever reason this year, it's just not coming to fruition.
Do you think we see the Rams play as much man defense moving forward?
I don't. I don't think they have the players to play a bunch of man now, and so I think you're going to start to see the defense coordinator with the Rams go to Aaron Donald and say, "Hey, look, bro, we're going to just need you to beat the double teams and get to the quarterback now. We're not going to be able to send the 5-man to 6-man pressures and leave our back end one-on-one."
Your point about the Ravens, D, 25th in the league against the pass so far with all of those big names. They add another one. Their next two opponents are Seattle and New England. Scott.
All right, now to the controversy.
That was clear that we support, and there was other that when you look at it, you review the play, not something that you want to see called. In particular, the pass rush. One that you can support, but the other one, clearly, after you review it, you've seen some slow-mos, the foul wasn't there.
That was Troy Vincent speaking at the NFL's fall meeting, where we find our Judy Batista and Ian Rappaport. Ian, it seemed like last night's calls were kind of a launching pad to talk about other officiating issues here in 2019.
Yeah, no doubt, Scott. But let's start with the Lions issues, and obviously the Trey Flowers, Judy, penalties / non-penalties were a big point of discussion here. Worth noting, the league office did reach out to people from the Lions to discuss the calls, and it sounds like express the same things that Troy Vincent said, which is at the very least, the second call was one that upon further review they would not have made. It doesn't give the Lions a win. It doesn't help make anyone feel better, but at least there was some accountability and acknowledgement that they did not get it right. Between this and the pass interference discussion, how the reviews are going over the first month and a half, certainly replays and officiating did take up a lot of time here in Fort Lauderdale.
Of course, Troy Vincent said upon further review that that's something you wouldn't want called. You can't review that play, the hands to the face. They did talk about something you can review, and that is pass interference. And Troy Vincent and Rich McKay both said basically they knew this was going to be controversial. They knew there was going to be a lot of disagreement. It is reviewing a subjective decision, so they knew going in. They are prepared to hold the line. They want to see how it plays out for the rest of the season. It's only 6 weeks in. They know things are not being reversed that often, but frankly, I got the impression, Ian, that's the way they want it. They wanted to send a signal to the coaches. Don't challenge a lot of this. We're not going to overturn it unless it is a train wreck.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people wondered, did this mean, Scott, that this new rule, the ability to challenge and correct pass interference penalties, did this mean it's not working because replay so infrequently overturns the call? It sounds like, from what Judy and I can gather, that the league office thinks it is working because coaches know there's an incredibly high bar to overturn these calls.
Still learning as we go along. Judy and Ian with the latest from the fall meeting. Thank you.
First game of Week 7 is just 2 days away now in Denver, where the Broncos are coming off a shutout win against Tennessee, their second win in a row, and they are facing a team now that has lost 2 straight, though, as James Palmer reports from Inglewood. KC has a very different streak going against Denver.
Vaughn Miller reminded us today that the Broncos haven't beaten the Kansas City Chiefs since Peyton Manning retired, but he also added that he believes this Broncos team is the best one since Manning's departure. Now, a lot's going to fall on this defense trying to slow down the MVP and Patrick Mahomes, and Vic Fangio has made some key adjustments to the defensive line and linebacking group, but multiple players I talked to said that it's going to fall on the secondary. When I talked to safety Will Parks, he told me we want to try to show as many different looks to Mahomes as we can to try to confuse him, and he said we can do that because we have about 3 or 4 players in our secondary that can play multiple positions. Parks is one of them. He found out the day before the game against the Titans last week he was going to be playing nickel corner. And also Kareem Jackson, who they brought in free agency as a converted corner to a safety, last couple of weeks has been playing that safety spot brilliantly. This defense has 5 picks in the last 2 games, and they want that to continue against Mahomes on Thursday night. Now let's go to Jeff Chadia with the Chiefs.
Thanks, James. Well, in Kansas City, there's a lot of issues on the offense right now with Patrick Mahomes being banged up, the offensive line having a ton of injuries, and they're committing a lot of penalties. But having Tyreek Hill back in the lineup is a big boost. He had 5 catches for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Houston Texans last week. And as Patrick Mahomes said, he makes a huge difference in this lineup. The Chiefs are seeing a lot of man coverage in the last couple games, but with Hill out there, defensive backs are backing off, they're playing looser, and it's allowing the Chiefs to make more plays down the field. Hill also has the ability to stretch the defense, and with this offense struggling to run the football, that's even more impactful. Andy Reid was also happy about the fact that Hill came out of that game without any issues. Obviously, he missed the last 4 games with a collarbone injury, but after Sunday night, he felt pretty good about where he was at. We'll see what happens against Denver.
They've got a lot to work on there in Kansas City, especially on the defensive side of the ball, frankly, where they rank 27th in yards allowed and 30th against the run. They've allowed a 100-yard rusher in 4 straight games now, and that has created all sorts of problems because it's allowed teams to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, assuming that that's going to be hard to turn around dramatically, immediately. Is there anything the offense can do to try and adapt to its new set of circumstances?
Yeah, to me, the issue with this Chiefs offense is their explosive mentality. And I know people are going to say, hey, Mike, I mean, he's throwing the ball with his left hand, no-look passes, all of these types of things. But on film, oftentimes you see possibly, I don't know, a 3rd and 4, and he's looking to go 50 yards down the football field as opposed to taking a check down or as opposed to taking the guy in the flat. I think they just need to work on that explosive mentality. Run the football a little bit more, D-Hall. I know you're a defensive back and you like throw the ball all over the yard, but, I mean, in the first 4 weeks, they were averaging 102 rush yards a game. In the last 2 weeks, 44.5 rush yards a game, right? And I know they've been in some games where they've had to throw the football to get back into it, but teams aren't allowing them to get behind them on defense. And then when you limit the explosive play from Patrick Mahomes and they get in the red zone, they're only scoring touchdowns at a 50% clip. So what that says to me is you got to play more. You got to play more of a brand of football where you can guarantee your success. And that's when somebody's lined up in front of you. My guy's better than your guy. I'm going to pick him up, move him to the side, and my running back is going to run right through. Yeah. That's how you do it in the red zone, and you know that.
But that's not how this Kansas City team is constructed. They're constructed with speed, athleticism. Obviously, when you have a player like Patrick Mahomes, he is the best player on their team, the league MVP. We want the ball in his hands. I think it's more so these guys just haven't been healthy. Think about it. When was the last time you seen Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins out there on the field at the same time?
It's been a minute, yeah.
And so when you're trying those explosive plays and you're going to a guy like Sammy Watkins, who I can remember vividly a catch that the DB should have picked, and Sammy just took it out of his hands and proceeded to run up the field. Tyreek Hill jumps off 1 foot, 40.5-inch vertical, goes and gets the ball over 2 defenders his first game back. They just need more repetition with those guys once they get a little bit more healthy. Tyreek was on a snap. I was about to say a pitch count.
Yeah,
a snap count to where he didn't play a lot of snaps in that game, but still showed his impact of some of the plays he can make. Right here, you got this play right here where Tyreek gets an inside release. He turns that safety around. You talk about that speed, and that ball's there. To me, that's just a timing issue, and I would have liked to see Tyreek lay out for that, but maybe he's still worried about that injury, you know? And this play right here, Pat Mahomes just really can't step in. He's another guy that's not 100% healthy. We all know when he's healthy, he can scramble, ad-lib, make plays. I want the ball in his hands. I'm with you as far as they do need to run the ball a little bit more, but I don't think you need to run the ball to the detriment of this offense being explosive. That's what they're known for, and they got
I agree.
They got all the weapons.
Don't run the football to the detriment of the offense. You run the football to win the game and help your defense out, right? Because that's the name of the game.
Defense bad.
You want to win the game, and you want to limit the exposure to that defense.
Their opponent this week, much better than they were earlier in the year. Denver's Diaz allowed just 13 points in their last 2 games, 7 sacks last week against Tennessee. We'll see what that translates to against KC Thursday night on NFL Network, Fox and Prime Video with a live Total Access postgame show coming up after the game.
Let's get some of the latest headlines now. If you're looking for clarification as to what it might not come this week, their bye week, that is. Cam Newton is reportedly getting healthy enough to return. But with the team on a 4-game win streak with Kyle Allen, they might have a tough decision to make. Here is Ron Rivera on Cam this afternoon.
Cam has epitomized, what we asked of him of being a captain. He's been there in support of his teammates. He's been around. And when we met, when we first got together and talked about this, we told him, hey, we're not going to put pressure on you. We're going to hold tight. We'll hold the fort down. Our guys will play. So until, he's 100%, until he's ready to roll, we're not going to address it.
The New York Jets are losing veteran left guard Kelechi Osemele. Ian Rappaport reporting that Osemele will have surgery on his shoulder. Osemele, who's been also dealing with a chronic knee issue, has missed the past 2 games after injuring his shoulder in practice.
As for our Pepsi Rookie of the Week nominees for Week 6, we've got 3 offensive players and 2 from the other side of the ball. Kyler Murray, Miles Sanders, and Terry McLaurin repping the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver spots. As for the defense, we're looking at Devin Bush making the cut, along with Texans defensive end Charles Omenihu. You can read their stat lines and vote for your favorite at NFL.com, and we'll reveal the winner Friday on NFL Total Access.
Controversial flags aside, the Green Bay Packers won the Monday Night Football game yesterday. What does it do to the balance of power in the division? and the conference. We'll discuss that next.
NFL Total Access is brought to you by the new Volvo X.